The rain begins slowly along a quiet American highway, falling in soft, patient drops that seem to have no hurry at all. The road stretches forward in long, dark lines, reflecting distant streetlights that glow faintly through the mist. Near the edge of the highway, a small roadside diner sits quietly, its warm yellow lights glowing gently against the deep blue of the night. The neon sign above the roof hums softly, flickering just enough to be noticed, but never demanding attention. Water pools along the cracked pavement of the parking lot, where only one car rests near the far corner, unmoving and silent. The rain creates small ripples across the asphalt, each one fading as gently as it forms. There is no traffic nearby now, only the distant echo of a passing truck far away, already disappearing into the darkness. The diner feels separate from the world, like a small pocket of warmth and stillness placed carefully beside the endless road. Nothing feels rushed here, and nothing feels important enough to disturb the calm. The rain continues its steady rhythm, washing the highway clean as the night slowly unfolds. Inside the diner, the air feels warm and quiet, carrying the faint scent of coffee and clean countertops. The soft hum of electricity fills the space, blending naturally with the gentle ticking of a clock mounted on the wall. Booths line the windows, their vinyl seats slightly worn, telling quiet stories of countless late nights and early mornings. Raindrops slide slowly down the glass, blurring the view of the outside world until the highway becomes nothing more than moving light and shadow. A waitress walks calmly behind the counter, her movements slow and unhurried, as if time itself has chosen to move differently here. She wipes the counter with steady motions, placing cups back onto the shelf with care. No conversations rise in the room, and no radios play in the background. The silence feels intentional, peaceful, and complete. The door remains closed now, its small bell resting without sound, as if it too understands that nothing needs to change in this moment. A pot of coffee finishes brewing softly behind the counter, releasing a quiet hiss before settling back into silence. Steam rises gently, curling upward and fading into the warm light above. A single mug sits near the edge of the counter, untouched, slowly cooling as minutes pass unnoticed. Outside, the rain grows slightly heavier, tapping against the roof in a steady, comforting pattern. The window fog thickens just enough to soften the glow of the streetlights, turning them into slow-moving shapes that drift across the glass. Inside, a napkin dispenser rests neatly beside a folded menu, both perfectly still. The floor reflects the overhead lights faintly, creating a soft mirror that shifts only when the waitress passes by. Each step she takes is quiet, measured, and calm. Nothing interrupts the peaceful rhythm of the night, and nothing feels out of place. Time stretches gently inside the diner, losing its usual meaning. The clock continues to move forward, but its steady ticking blends seamlessly into the background, no more important than the sound of rain outside. The booths remain empty, waiting patiently without expectation. A spoon rests beside the mug, untouched, reflecting a small line of light along its surface. The air feels steady and still, neither too warm nor too cool. Outside, the road remains empty, its dark surface shining softly beneath the rain. Each passing minute feels the same as the last, smooth and uneventful. The diner exists in this quiet balance, offering nothing more than shelter, warmth, and stillness. It does not demand attention, and it does not ask questions. It simply remains calm and steady as the night continues. As the rain continues to fall, the diner holds its peaceful atmosphere without effort. The neon sign outside glows consistently now, its reflection stretching across the wet pavement like a quiet promise of rest. Inside, the lights hum softly overhead, casting gentle shadows that never move too quickly. The waitress finishes her slow routine and pauses behind the counter, standing quietly as if listening to the rain. No new customers arrive, and no sounds break the calm. The highway beyond the windows remains distant and quiet, carrying the rain away toward unseen places. Everything inside the diner feels settled, complete, and unchanging. The night does not rush forward, and the rain does not stop. The diner rests calmly beside the road, waiting patiently as the soft rhythm of rain continues, guiding the mind toward rest and sleep. The rain deepens as the night moves forward, becoming steadier and more consistent along the quiet stretch of highway. The diner remains in the same place beside the road, but the feeling around it slowly changes as the hours pass. Outside, the parking lot glistens under the neon light, each puddle reflecting soft colors that ripple gently with every raindrop. The single car remains parked where it was before, its windows now streaked with water, its shape softened by darkness and rain. Far away, thunder never arrives, leaving only the steady sound of rainfall and the faint hum of distant electricity. The road feels even emptier now, as if the world beyond the diner has temporarily paused. The rain does not rush, and neither does the night. Everything settles into a slower rhythm, inviting stillness without effort. Inside the diner, the warmth feels deeper and more noticeable as the contrast with the outside grows stronger. The yellow lights glow gently, casting long, quiet shadows across the floor. The booths remain empty, their surfaces clean and untouched, waiting without urgency. Condensation thickens along the windows, blurring the highway until it becomes a soft blend of light and motion. The clock continues ticking steadily, though its sound now feels more distant, blending into the background. The waitress moves calmly between the counter and the back area, her routine unchanging and unhurried. Cups are rinsed slowly, placed carefully back on the shelves, and left to dry in silence. There is no music, no conversation, and no distraction. The diner feels sealed away from the outside world, holding on to its calm with quiet confidence. A fresh pot of coffee is poured gently, filling a mug that steams briefly before settling. The sound of liquid meeting ceramic is soft and brief, fading quickly back into silence. The smell of coffee lingers lightly in the air, mixing with a clean scent of soap and warm surfaces. Outside, rain continues tapping against the roof and windows, creating a steady pattern that never changes suddenly. The neon sign flickers once, then steadies again, its reflection stretching across the pavement. Inside, a napkin shifts slightly as air moves when the waitress passes by. Nothing feels important enough to draw focus. Each object in the diner seems content, simply remaining where it is, contributing quietly to the peaceful atmosphere. Time continues to stretch gently, losing sharp edges as minutes blend together. The clock hands move forward, but no one watches them. The booths remain empty, the counter remains clean, and the door stays closed. its bell silent and still. The rain outside grows heavier for a moment, then returns to its steady pace, never becoming loud or disruptive. The windows fog further, softening the world beyond them until the highway feels distant and unreal. Inside, the air stays warm and balanced, carrying no urgency. The diner exists quietly in this moment, offering rest without asking for attention. Everything feels slow, controlled, and predictable in the most comforting way. As the night deepens further, the diner continues its quiet routine unchanged. The lights hum softly overhead, casting a steady glow that never flickers. The rain remains consistent, washing over the road and carrying sounds away into the darkness. No new cars arrive, and no footsteps approach the door. The waitress pauses behind the counter, standing still for a moment, as if listening to the rain outside. The coffee cools slowly in its mug, untouched and patient. The diner holds its calm without effort, resting beside the highway as the night stretches onward. Nothing needs to happen next. The rain continues, the lights remain warm, and the peaceful rhythm of the night carries gently forward, inviting rest and quiet sleep. The night continues to move forward quietly, slipping deeper into the early hours when the world feels less defined and more distant. The rain remains steady along the highway, but its sound now feels softer, as if the darkness itself has absorbed some of its energy. The diner stands unchanged beside the road, its warm lights glowing steadily against the cool, wet surroundings. Outside, the parking lot appears darker now, the puddles reflecting fewer colors as traffic lights cycle slowly in the distance. The single parked car remains unmoved, its presence familiar and unremarkable. The highway feels even more empty than before, stretching endlessly in both directions without interruption. The rain keeps falling at the same gentle pace, smoothing the edges of the night and creating a sense of quiet continuity that feels endless and calm. Inside the diner, the warmth feels constant and reassuring. The lights continue to glow softly, illuminating the booths and counter without casting harsh shadows. The windows are now heavily fogged, turning the outside world into vague shapes and muted colors that drift slowly beyond the glass. The ticking clock remains steady, though it seems quieter now, blending seamlessly with the hum of electricity and the distant rain. The waitress moves through her routine again, slower than before, rinsing a cup, drying it carefully, and placing it back in its spot. Each motion feels unimportant, yet soothing in its predictability. The door stays closed, the bell untouched, and the silence remains unbroken. Nothing enters the diner, and nothing leaves. The coffee pot rests quietly on the warmer, keeping its contents gently heated without drawing attention. A mug sits near the counter's edge, steam barely visible now as the liquid settles. The smell of coffee is faint, almost blending completely into the background. Outside, the rain maintains its calm rhythm, tapping lightly against the roof and windows in a pattern that never surprises. The neon sign outside reflects dimly now, its glow softened by mist and distance. Inside, a napkin shifts slightly as warm air circulates, then becomes still again. Everything feels balanced and complete, as if the diner has reached a point where nothing more is needed. Time feels less structured in these hours, stretching smoothly without clear divisions. Minutes pass quietly, unnoticed and unmeasured. The booths remain empty, their surfaces clean and undisturbed. The counter reflects the overhead lights in long, gentle lines that do not move. Outside, the road continues to shine under the rain, its surface smooth and uninterrupted. No headlights appear, and no engines pass nearby. The diner feels like a pause in the night, a place where motion slows and thoughts soften. The air remains warm and still, carrying no urgency and no expectation. Everything stays exactly as it is. As the rain continues its steady fall, the diner holds its peaceful stillness without effort. The lights hum softly, never flickering, never demanding attention. The waitress pauses behind the counter once more, standing quietly and looking toward the fogged window without focus. The coffee cools slowly, untouched, while the clock continues its gentle ticking in the background. Outside, the highway remains empty, the rain washing sound and movement away into the darkness. The diner stays awake quietly, resting beside the road as the night deepens further. Nothing changes, nothing begins, and nothing ends. The calm rhythm of rain and light continues, guiding the mind gently toward rest and sleep. The night drifts further into its quietest hours, when even the rain seems to soften its presence. The highway beside the diner remains empty, stretching into darkness without interruption. Rain continues to fall steadily, but the sound now feels smoother, more distant, as if it is blended completely into the background of the night. The diner's neon sign glows steadily, its reflection faint and elongated across the wet pavement. Puddles in the parking lot lie still, disturbed only by occasional raindrops that ripple gently before fading away. The single parked car remains exactly where it has been all night, its outline now barely visible beneath the dim glow of the lights. Nothing around the diner suggests movement or urgency. The rain, the road, and the building all seem to exist in quiet agreement, holding the same calm rhythm without change. Inside the diner, the warmth remains constant, wrapping the empty space in a sense of quiet comfort. The overhead lights cast a soft, even glow across the booths, the counter, and the tiled floor. The windows are fully fogged now, hiding the outside world almost completely and turning distant lights into muted shapes. The ticking clock continues its steady pace, though it feels slower somehow, blending seamlessly into the low hum of electricity. The waitress moves through the space with minimal effort, her routine reduced to small, careful tasks that require little thought. A cup is rinsed, dried, and placed back onto the shelf. A surface is wiped once more, even though it is already clean. Each movement is unhurried and calm, adding to the steady stillness of the diner. The coffee pot rests quietly on the warmer, maintaining its gentle heat without sound. A mug sits nearby, its surface now cool to the touch, untouched for a long while. The faint smell of coffee lingers, subtle and familiar. Outside, the rain continues tapping softly against the roof, its rhythm steady and predictable. The neon light outside flickers briefly, then steadies again, its glow softened by mist and distance. Inside, the air feels balanced and still, neither warm nor cool enough to demand attention. A napkin lies flat on the counter, unmoving. Everything in the diner appears settled, as if nothing else needs to happen for the night to remain complete. Time stretches quietly during these deep night hours, losing its sharp edges and clear markers. Minutes pass without notice, blending together smoothly. The booths remain empty, their surfaces reflecting soft light that never shifts. The door stays closed, its small bell silent and patient. Outside, the highway remains undisturbed, carrying no headlights and no sound of passing engines. Rain continues to wash the road, smoothing its surface and carrying away any trace of movement. The diner feels suspended in this moment, untouched by the outside world. There is no sense of waiting, no expectation of change. Everything feels steady, predictable, and deeply calm. As the night holds its quiet depth, the diner continues to exist in perfect stillness. The lights hum softly overhead, unwavering and gentle. The waitress pauses behind the counter, standing quietly as if listening to the rain without thinking about it. The clock continues ticking, marking time that no one is counting. Outside, the rain falls endlessly, dissolving sound and motion into the darkness. The highway remains empty, and the diner remains awake, offering nothing but warmth and silence. Nothing begins and nothing ends. The calm rhythm of rain, light, and stillness continues, guiding the mind further into rest as the night slowly carries on. The night remains deep and quiet, though a very subtle change begins to settle into the air. The rain continues falling steadily along the empty highway, but its sound feels softer now, less defined, as if it has become part of the silence rather than something separate from it. The diner still rests beside the road, unchanged in position or appearance, yet the surrounding darkness feels slightly lighter than before. The neon sign glows without flicker, reflecting faintly across the wet pavement. The parking lot remains empty and still, the puddles smooth and unbroken except for gentle ripples from falling rain. The single parked car stays exactly where it has been all night, its presence quiet and familiar. Nothing moves along the road, and nothing suggests the approach of morning. The rain, the diner, and the highway continue existing together in calm balance. Inside the diner, the warmth feels steady and comforting, unchanged by the passing hours. The lights cast a gentle glow across the booths and counter, creating soft reflections that remain perfectly still. The windows stay fully fogged, blurring the outside world into muted colors and indistinct shapes. The ticking clock continues marking time evenly, though its presence feels less noticeable now. The waitress moves through the space once again, slower than before, completing simple tasks without thought or urgency. A cup is adjusted slightly on the shelf. A clean surface is wiped one more time, even though it needs no attention. Her movements feel automatic, calm, and quiet, blending naturally into the stillness of the diner. The coffee pot remains on the warmer, keeping its contents gently heated. A mug rests nearby, untouched, its surface now completely cool. The faint smell of coffee lingers in the air, subtle and comforting. Outside, the rain continues tapping softly against the roof and windows, its rhythm smooth and predictable. The neon light outside reflects dimly across the road, softened further by mist and distance. Inside, The air remains balanced and still, carrying no tension or change. A napkin lies flat on the counter, unmoving. Everything in the diner appears settled, as if the space itself has relaxed into the quiet rhythm of the night. Time feels even more stretched now, flowing gently without clear boundaries. Minutes pass unnoticed, blending together smoothly. The booths remain empty, their surfaces reflecting the same soft light without variation. The door stays closed, the bell silent and patient. Outside, the highway remains undisturbed, carrying no sound of engines or tires. Rain continues washing the road, smoothing its surface and carrying sound away into the darkness. The diner feels suspended in this moment, resting between night and morning without expectation. Nothing is waiting to happen. Everything feels calm, predictable, and deeply restful. As the rain continues falling, the diner holds its peaceful stillness without effort. The lights hum softly overhead, constant and gentle. The waitress pauses behind the counter once more, standing quietly and listening to the rain without focus. The clock continues ticking steadily, though its sound fades into the background. Outside, the highway remains empty, the rain dissolving movement and noise into silence. The diner stays awake quietly, offering warmth, light, and stillness beside the road. Nothing begins and nothing ends. The calm rhythm of rain and quiet continues, guiding the mind further into rest as the night slowly breathes onward. The night begins to thin very gently, though it remains mostly dark and quiet. The rain continues falling along the empty highway, steady and patient, with no sign of stopping. The diner stays exactly where it has been all night, glowing softly beside the road, its warm light resting calmly against the cool darkness. The neon sign shines with the same steady glow, its reflection stretching lightly across the wet pavement. The parking lot remains still, the puddles smooth and reflective, disturbed only by the soft rhythm of falling rain. The single parked car remains unmoved, its surface now coated with a fine layer of water. The road stays empty, carrying no traffic, no movement, and no urgency. Everything around the diner feels settled into a slow, quiet balance that does not need to change. Inside the diner, the warmth continues to feel steady and familiar. The lights glow evenly across the booths, the counter, and the floor, creating soft reflections that barely shift. The windows remain fogged, hiding the outside world and turning distant lights into vague, drifting shapes. The clock ticks on, marking time that no one is watching. The waitress moves slowly through the space, completing her routine with calm precision. A cup is placed carefully back onto the shelf. A surface is wiped gently, even though it is already clean. Each movement feels relaxed and unimportant, blending seamlessly into the quiet atmosphere. There is no sound of conversation, no music, and no interruption of the calm. The coffee pot rests quietly on the warmer, its contents kept gently heated through the long hours of the night. A mug sits nearby, untouched, waiting without expectation. The faint smell of coffee lingers softly in the air, mixed with the clean scent of warm surfaces. Outside, the rain continues tapping against the roof and windows, its rhythm smooth and predictable. The neon light outside reflects faintly now, softened further by mist and distance. Inside, the air feels still and balanced, carrying no tension or urgency. A napkin lies flat on the counter, unmoving. Everything in the diner appears calm, settled, and complete. Time feels especially gentle now, moving forward without sharp edges. Minutes pass quietly, blending into one another. The booths remain empty, their surfaces reflecting the same soft light without change. The door stays closed, the bell silent and patient. Outside, the highway remains undisturbed, carrying only rain and darkness. The rain washes the road continuously, smoothing its surface and carrying sound away into the night. The diner feels suspended between night and morning, resting in a quiet space where nothing needs to happen. Everything feels predictable, steady, and deeply restful. As the rain continues its steady fall, the diner holds its calm without effort. The lights hum softly overhead, unchanged and gentle. The waitress pauses behind the counter again, standing quietly and listening to the rain without focus or thought. The clock continues, ticking evenly, fading into the background. Outside, the highway remains empty, the rain dissolving sound and motion into silence. The diner stays awake quietly, offering warmth and stillness beside the road. Nothing begins and nothing ends. The calm rhythm of rain, light, and quiet continues, guiding the mind gently toward rest as the night slowly moves forward. The rain continues its steady fall, but the night feels slightly lighter now, as if the darkness is slowly loosening its hold. The highway beside the diner remains empty, stretching forward without headlights or movement. The diner itself stays calm and unchanged, its warm lights glowing steadily against the cool, wet surroundings. The neon sign outside hums quietly, reflecting faint lines of color across the rain-washed pavement. Puddles in the parking lot look smoother now, disturbed only occasionally by gentle drops. The single parked car remains in place, its shape softened by moisture and darkness. Nothing signals the arrival of morning yet, but the stillness carries a subtle sense of continuation, as if the night is slowly preparing to move on without rushing. Inside the diner, the warmth feels constant and reassuring. The lights cast the same gentle glow across the booths and counter, creating reflections that barely shift. The windows remain fogged, blurring the outside world into soft shapes and muted colors. The clock continues ticking steadily, though it feels quieter now, blending naturally into the hum of electricity and distant rain. The waitress moves through the space again, her routine calm and unchanging. A cup is adjusted slightly on the shelf. A clean surface is wiped once more, even though it needs no attention. Each movement feels automatic, relaxed, and slow, adding to the deep quiet of the room. The coffee pot stays on the warmer, its contents gently heated through the long night. A mug rests nearby, untouched, waiting without purpose. The faint smell of coffee lingers in the air, soft and familiar. Outside, the rain continues tapping against the roof and windows, its rhythm smooth and predictable. The neon light outside reflects dimly now, softened further by mist and distance. Inside, the air feels balanced and still, carrying no tension or urgency. A napkin lies flat on the counter, unmoving. Everything in the diner feels settled, as if it has accepted the slow passage of time completely. Time continues to stretch gently, losing its sharp edges as minutes blend together. The booths remain empty, their surfaces reflecting the same calm light without variation. The door stays closed, the bells silent and patient. Outside, the highway remains undisturbed, carrying only rain and darkness. The rain washes the road continuously, smoothing its surface and carrying sound away into the distance. The diner feels suspended between night and morning, existing quietly in a space where nothing needs to begin or end. Everything feels steady, predictable, and deeply calming. As the rain continues its soft rhythm, the diner holds its peaceful stillness without effort. The lights hum gently overhead, unchanged and reassuring. The waitress pauses behind the counter once more, standing quietly and listening to the rain without focus. The clock continues ticking evenly, fading into the background. Outside, the highway remains empty, the rain dissolving sound and motion into silence. The diner stays awake quietly beside the road, offering warmth, light, and rest. Nothing changes suddenly. The calm rhythm of rain and quiet continues, guiding the mind further toward deep, uninterrupted sleep. The rain begins to fall a little more gently now, not stopping, but softening into a quieter rhythm. The highway beside the diner remains empty, stretching forward in long, dark lines that disappear into mist. The diner stays exactly as it has been through the night, calm and unchanged. Its warm lights glowing steadily against the damp surroundings. The neon sign outside hums faintly, its colors muted by distance and rain. Puddles in the parking lot grow smoother, reflecting the diner's light in long, blurred shapes. The single parked car remains still, untouched and silent. The night feels deeper in its quiet, even as the rain slowly eases. Inside, the diner feels settled into a peaceful stillness. The warm light spreads evenly across the booths, the counter, and the tiled floor. The windows remain lightly fogged, turning the outside world into soft, abstract shapes. The clock continues ticking, but the sound feels distant, blending easily with the quiet hum of electricity. The waitress moves slowly through the space, her presence calm and unhurried. She adjusts a chair slightly, then steps away without sound. A clean surface is wiped once more, not out of need, but habit. Everything inside the diner moves at the same relaxed pace, without interruption. The coffee pot rests quietly on the warmer, producing a faint, steady warmth that fills the air. A mug sits nearby, waiting without purpose or expectation. The gentle scent of coffee remains in the room, soft and comforting. Outside, the rain taps lightly against the roof and windows, slower now, more spaced apart. The neon light outside reflects faintly on the wet road, softened by mist and darkness. Inside, the air feels balanced and still, holding no tension, no urgency. A napkin lies flat on the counter, untouched and unmoving. Everything appears calm, finished, and complete. Time seems to stretch further, becoming almost unnoticeable. Minutes blend together without edges or importance. The booths remain empty, their surfaces reflecting the same soft light without change. The door stays closed, the bell quiet and patient. Outside, the highway remains undisturbed, carrying only the faint sound of rain. The rain washes the road gently now, carrying sound away and smoothing the night into silence. The diner feels suspended in a quiet space between night and morning, resting in a moment where nothing needs to happen and nothing demands attention. As the rain continues to soften, the diner holds its calm effortlessly. The lights hum gently overhead, unchanged and reassuring. The waitress pauses behind the counter again, standing quietly, listening to the softer rain without thought. The clock continues ticking evenly, fading further into the background. Outside, the highway remains empty, the road dark and quiet. The diner stays awake beside the road, offering warmth and stillness to the night. Nothing begins yet. The slow rhythm of light, rain, and silence continues, guiding the mind deeper into rest as the night gently prepares to fade. The rain becomes quieter now, no longer falling in a steady stream, but arriving in slow, spaced drops. The highway beside the diner remains empty, stretching forward into darkness without headlights or movement. The diner stays warm and calm, its lights glowing steadily against the cool night air. The neon sign outside hums softly, its reflection on the pavement fading into broken, gentle shapes. The parking lot grows smoother and darker, disturbed only by occasional raindrops. The single parked car remains still, resting beneath the soft glow of the diner lights. Silence feels heavier, settling into the night without effort. Inside the diner, the stillness deepens further. Warm light spreads evenly across booths, and the counter unchanged and gentle. The windows stay lightly fogged, turning the outside world into muted shapes. The clock ticks steadily, though its sound feels distant. The waitress moves slowly, completing small tasks without urgency. She adjusts a cup, pushes in a chair, and steps away quietly. Each movement feels careful, as if the room itself is guiding the pace. The coffee pot rests on the warmer, holding a gentle heat through the final hours of night. A mug sits nearby, untouched and waiting without purpose. The soft scent of coffee lingers in the air. Outside, the rain taps only occasionally, leaving long pauses of silence between each sound. The neon light outside reflects faintly now, nearly disappearing into darkness. Inside, the air feels balanced and complete, with no tension and no need for change. Time stretches into a peaceful pause. Minutes blend together quietly, losing importance. The booths remain empty, reflecting steady light without variation. The door stays closed, the bell silent and patient. Outside, the highway remains undisturbed, holding only darkness and still air. The road appears smooth and clean after the earlier rain. The diner feels suspended between night and morning, resting in a calm moment where nothing needs attention. As the final raindrops fall softly, the diner holds its calm without effort. The lights hum gently overhead. The waitress pauses behind the counter again, standing quietly and listening to the near silence. The clock continues ticking evenly, fading into the background. Outside, the highway remains empty and dark. The diner stays awake beside the road, offering warmth and quiet. Nothing begins yet. The stillness continues, guiding the mind gently toward deep sleep. The night grows darker now, heavier with clouds that block the faint hint of pre-dawn light. Rain falls in slow, uneven drops, occasionally hitting the roof with a soft, hollow sound. Outside, The highway stretches endlessly into shadow, empty and silent, except for the quiet tapping of water on asphalt. The diner sits beside the road, its warm yellow lights glowing softly, but the corners of the building are now touched with shadow. The neon sign flickers once, then steadies, casting thin streaks of light across the wet pavement. Puddles reflect a dim glow, but the reflections seem longer, darker, as if the night itself stretches inside them. The single parked car remains in place, its silhouette blurred by mist and raindrops. The heavy quiet makes the world feel deeper, slower, and slightly mysterious. Inside the diner, the warmth remains comforting, yet shadows stretch along the floor and booths. The soft hum of lights blends with the occasional drip of water from the roof, creating a calm, slightly eerie rhythm. The windows are fogged and streaked with raindrops, making the outside world look like moving shadows and faint lights. The clock ticks steadily, though the sound feels distant and hollow, fading into the background. The waitress moves slowly through the space, her presence calm, almost ghost-like, adjusting a cup, wiping a counter, and stepping back silently. Each movement is deliberate, careful, as if she too senses the heavier weight of the night. The diner feels alive in its stillness, yet darker and more mysterious than before. The coffee pot rests quietly on the warmer, giving off a faint, soft steam that curls slowly into the air. A mug sits nearby, untouched, the warm liquid inside casting a tiny glow in the dim light. The faint scent of coffee mixes with the cooler, damp air seeping in through the edges of the windows. Outside, rain hits the roof irregularly, creating soft pauses between each drop. Occasionally, a distant rumble of thunder rolls softly, never loud enough to startle, but adding a subtle depth to the night. Neon light reflects off wet surfaces outside, creating long, wavering streaks across the parking lot. Inside, the diner feels enveloped in shadow and quiet, each object still, each surface calm, yet the space holds a sense of quiet anticipation. Time moves slowly, each minute stretching into the next. The booths remain empty, their surfaces reflecting soft light that flickers subtly in the corners. The door stays closed, the bell silent and waiting. Outside, the highway remains undisturbed, carrying only the muted sound of rain and distant thunder. The road looks darker now, washed by rain, but shadowed by the night. The diner feels suspended in this heavier, slightly mysterious stillness, existing in a space where light and shadow dance softly together. Nothing hurries, nothing intrudes, and every small sound is absorbed into the quiet, giving the room a sense of depth that feels both comforting and slightly somber. As the night continues, the diner maintains its calm yet dark presence. The lights hum softly above, steady but faint, casting gentle shadows along the booths and counter. The waitress pauses behind the counter, standing quietly, listening to the distant patter of rain and faint rumble of thunder. The clock ticks on, fading further into the background. Outside, the highway remains empty, the wet road reflecting dim neon and streetlight in muted streaks. The diner stays awake quietly beside the road, offering warmth, quiet, and a heavier sense of calm. Nothing begins abruptly, and nothing ends. The dark rhythm of rain, light, shadow, and stillness continues, guiding the mind deeper into a calm, sleepy state as the night slowly waits for the first signs of morning. The night begins to soften slowly, though darkness still clings to the road and the diner's edge as the rain falls more gently, almost hesitant, with long pauses between each drop. The highway beside the diner remains empty, stretching forward in long, dark lines that seem endless. The diner's warm lights glow softly, casting muted reflections on wet pavement. Shadows linger in the corners, but the heavy darkness of earlier hours feels slightly lighter, as though the night itself is beginning to release its grip. Puddles on the parking lot glimmer faintly under the flickering neon, reflecting long, delicate streaks of light. The single parked car remains still, a quiet sentinel in the subdued scene. Everything outside moves in slow, patient rhythm, and the diner holds its calm quietly, waiting without hurry. Inside, the diner feels familiar, warm, and unchanged, yet a subtle shift is noticeable. The fogged windows show vague shapes of the world outside, softened by mist and remaining darkness. The light spreads evenly across the booths and counter, though. Shadows now seem less heavy, stretching gently as if reaching for the day. The ticking clock is steady, blending seamlessly into the hum of electricity and distant, softened raindrops. The waitress moves calmly, adjusting a cup, wiping a counter, and pausing to look outside briefly, noticing the first faint light along the horizon. Each movement feels natural, quiet, and deliberate, maintaining the slow rhythm of the diner. The coffee pot rests quietly on the warmer, steam rising gently in thin curls that disappear into the calm air. A mug sits nearby, untouched, the faint aroma of coffee mixing with the cooler. Misty air seeping through the edges of the windows. Outside, the rain becomes softer, leaving long silences between drops. The neon sign outside flickers faintly, reflecting softly on wet surfaces in muted streaks. The diner feels enveloped in a peaceful stillness where every object is calm and settled. Even the distant rumble of thunder is faded, leaving only the soft whisper of rain and the gentle hum of lights. The world outside seems to be pausing, lingering in the quiet before morning. Time stretches gently, unmarked and slow. Minutes pass softly, blending into one another. The booths remain empty, the surfaces reflecting the warm light without change. The door stays closed, the bell silent. Outside, the highway remains still and dark, but the very edges of the horizon show a hint of pale color, almost imperceptible. The diner exists in a moment between night and morning, holding steady in a calm, undisturbed rhythm. Every movement, every sound is absorbed into the quiet, giving the room a sense of completeness and peace. Nothing hurries, nothing interrupts, and the calm deepens with each passing second. The night has almost lifted, leaving behind a soft, gray light that barely touches the horizon. The rain has slowed to a gentle drizzle, each drop falling softly and spaced apart, creating delicate ripples in the puddles outside. The highway beside the diner remains empty, the asphalt smooth and reflective under the faint morning light. The diner itself stays warm and inviting, its yellow light still glowing softly against the dim endings. The neon sign hums faintly, casting muted streaks across the wet pavement. Shadows linger in the corners, but the darkness has receded, replaced by a calm, subtle glow. The single-parked car remains undisturbed, resting quietly in the softened light. Everything outside moves slowly, as if time itself is still stretching after the night. The coffee pot rests quietly on the warmer, giving off a faint, soft steam. A mug sits nearby, untouched, its contents warm and inviting. The faint scent of coffee mingles with the fresh, damp air coming through the edges of the windows. Outside, the drizzle leaves long, delicate silences between each drop. The neon sign's reflection fades further on the wet surfaces outside. Inside, the diner feels calm and settled. Every object in place, every surface quiet. Even distant sounds from the road feel muted, blending seamlessly with the soft hum of the lights. The diner exists in perfect stillness, as though holding its breath for the coming day. Time moves gently, measured only by the slow ticking of the clock. Minutes stretch softly, blending into one another without urgency. The booths remain empty, reflecting the warm, steady light. The door stays closed, the bell silent. Outside, the highway remains empty, but the faint colors of morning begin to appear, pale and diffused along the horizon. The diner exists in a quiet transition, suspended between night and day, holding its calm, steady. Every small sound is absorbed, every motion sought. Nothing hurries, nothing demands attention, and a peaceful stillness deepens with each passing moment as the first real light of morning spreads across the sky. The diner continues to hold its quiet presence. The lights hum softly above, steady and comforting. The waitress pauses once more behind the counter, standing quietly and listening to the soft drip of rain and the subtle stir of early light. The clock ticks evenly, fading further into the background. Outside, the highway remains empty, the wet road reflecting muted streaks of neon and pale morning. The diner stays awake beside the road, offering warmth, stillness, and calm to anyone who might notice. Nothing begins abruptly. Nothing ends suddenly. The slow, gentle rhythm of light, rain, and quiet continues, guiding the mind gently toward peaceful rest as the world slowly wakes from night. Morning light spreads slowly across the sky, soft and pale, barely strong enough to push away the remaining shadows of night. The rain has nearly stopped, leaving only a faint mist hanging in the air. The highway beside the diner remains empty, its surface dark and smooth from the night's rain. The diner continues to glow warmly, its yellow light still on, blending gently with the growing daylight. The neon sign hums faintly, less noticeable now, its reflection fading from the wet pavement. Puddles remain scattered across the parking lot, reflecting the soft gray sky above. The single-parked car stays exactly where it has been, quiet and unmoving, as if resting after the long night. The entire scene feels slow, calm, and unhurried. Inside the diner, the atmosphere remains peaceful and unchanged. The windows are no longer heavily fogged, allowing faint outlines of the morning outside to show through. Light spreads across the booths and counter, slightly brighter, but still gentle and warm. The clock continues ticking steadily, marking time without urgency. The waitress moves quietly through the space, beginning her early morning routine at the same slow pace. She refills a coffee pot, straightens a chair, and wipes the counter, with calm, familiar movements. Nothing feels rushed. Everything flows naturally, guided by the soft rhythm of the morning. The coffee pot releases a thin curl of steam, carrying a soft, comforting scent through the room. A mug rests on the counter, untouched, waiting patiently. The air inside feels warm and settled, mixed gently with the fresh, damp air drifting in from outside. The lights hum softly overhead, blending with the quiet sounds of the waking morning. Outside, the mist lingers above the road, and distant sounds remain muted. The diner feels grounded and steady, as if it exists slightly apart from time. Every object appears calm and purposeful, even in its stillness. Time continues moving gently, unnoticed and smooth. Minutes pass without sharp edges, blending into one another. The booths remain empty, their surfaces reflecting the soft morning light. The door stays closed, the bell silent. Outside, the highway shows no traffic yet, holding on to the quiet of the early hour. The sky slowly brightens, but the diner remains calm and unchanged. It feels like a peaceful pause before the day fully begins, a moment where everything rests quietly, balanced between rest and wakefulness. As the morning grows clearer, the diner holds its calm presence beside the road. The lights remain on, warm and steady. The waitress pauses behind the counter, standing quietly and listening to the soft sounds of the morning. The clock ticks evenly, fading into the background. Outside, the wet road reflects pale light from the sky. The diner stays open, offering warmth, silence, and rest. Nothing begins suddenly, and nothing ends. The gentle rhythm of early morning continues, guiding the mind toward deep, comfortable, calm, even as the day slowly moves forward. The morning has fully settled in now, bringing a soft, even light across the sky. The rain has stopped completely, leaving the air cool and clean. The highway beside the diner remains empty, stretching quietly into the distance. The pavement is still wet, reflecting pale morning colors in smooth, glassy shapes. The diner continues to glow warmly, its light steady and comforting against the cool daylight. The neon sign hums faintly, barely noticeable now, as natural light slowly replaces its glow. The parking lot stays still, the puddles calm and undisturbed. The single parked car remains exactly where it has been all night, resting quietly as the day begins. Inside the diner, the atmosphere feels peaceful and steady. The windows are clearer now, allowing soft morning light to mix with the warm indoor glow. The booths and counter reflect this gentle light without glare. The clock ticks evenly, blending into the background. The waitress continues her routine at the same unhurried pace, refilling a coffee pot, adjusting a napkin holder, and wiping the counter with slow, familiar movements. No voices interrupt the calm. The diner feels prepared for the day, yet in no hurry to begin it. The coffee pot releases a steady warmth, sending faint steam into the air. A mug sits nearby, untouched, waiting patiently. The scent of coffee mixes softly with the fresh morning air drifting through the edges of the windows. Outside, the sky remains pale and calm, with no strong sunlight yet. Inside, every object feels settled and intentional, as if the diner has completed its work simply by remaining quiet. The hum of the lights feels gentle and reassuring, adding to the peaceful stillness of the space. Time continues to move smoothly, almost unnoticed. Minutes pass without urgency, blending into one another. The booths remain empty, their surfaces clean and calm. The door stays closed, the bell silent. Outside, the highway remains free of traffic, holding on to the last moments of early morning quiet. The diner feels balanced and complete, existing in a moment where nothing needs to change. The calm feels deep and steady, stretching comfortably across the room. As the early morning continues, the diner holds its peaceful presence beside the road. The lights remain on, warm and steady. The waitress pauses behind the counter again, standing quietly and listening to the soft sounds of the morning. The clock ticks evenly, fading further into the background. Outside, the wet pavement slowly begins to dry. The diner stays calm and welcoming, offering warmth, stillness, and rest. Nothing rushes forward, and nothing fades away. The gentle rhythm of morning continues, guiding the mind toward deep, unbroken calm. Morning has fully arrived now, spreading a calm, even light across the sky and the quiet highway. The rain is gone completely, leaving the air fresh and cool. The road beside the diner looks clean and smooth, reflecting soft shades of pale blue and gray. The diner remains in its familiar place, warm light still glowing gently, even as daylight fills the scene. The neon sign outside is barely noticeable now, its glow fading into the natural brightness of morning. The parking lot stays still, puddles slowly drying under the calm sky. The single parked car remains exactly where it has been, quiet and unchanged, as if it has been resting through the night and into the day. Inside the diner, the atmosphere feels steady and peaceful. Morning light filters through the windows, mixing gently with the warm interior glow. The booths and counter reflect this soft light without harshness. The clock continues ticking evenly, marking time without urgency. The waitress moves quietly through the space, continuing her routine with the same calm care. She refills the coffee pot, straightens a chair, and pauses briefly to look outside at the quiet road. Nothing feels rushed. Everything feels balanced and complete, as though the diner has settled comfortably into the day. The coffee pot releases gentle steam, filling the air with a familiar, comforting scent. A mug rests on the counter, waiting patiently. The room feels warm and grounded, touched by the fresh air coming in from outside. The hum of the lights blends softly with the quiet sounds of morning. Outside, the highway remains mostly empty, holding on to the last moments of early calm. The diner feels timeless, existing quietly as the world slowly wakes. Every object appears still and at ease, adding to the deep sense of rest. Time continues moving forward smoothly, without drawing attention to itself. Minutes pass gently, blending into one another. The booths remain empty, their surfaces clean and calm. The door stays closed, the bell silent. Outside, the sky brightens slightly, but nothing changes suddenly. The diner remains peaceful, holding on to the quiet rhythm it carried through the night. The calm feels complete, as if nothing more needs to happen for the moment to feel whole. As the morning settles fully, the diner continues to offer warmth and stillness beside the road. The lights remain on, soft and reassuring. The waitress pauses behind the counter one last time, standing quietly and listening to the gentle sounds of the morning. The clock ticks steadily, fading into the background. Outside, the road waits calmly for the day to begin. Inside, the diner stays peaceful and unchanged. Nothing ends abruptly, and nothing begins suddenly. The quiet rhythm continues, allowing the mind to rest deeply, comfortably, and without interruption.